Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to today's community conversation. We're going to give it a few minutes, and while we do, we have a fun thing of just kind of mentioning in the chat where you're joining us from. So I'll put mine in there. I'm in Bend, Oregon, and just a little bit of snow out there. Oh, Thomas, number one. Yeah, Tony, Austin, Texas. Yeah, here's the race for that. Mustafa, Boston. Welcome. Williams Bay, Wisconsin. I will bet that is not very warm right now. Same with Detroit, Alex. Brian, good morning. Yeah, exactly. From planet Earth. Well, maybe some of us are. We don't want to underestimate. Could be somebody on the space station. David from the great Redwood Empire west of 101, Sonoma County. I used to live in Sonoma County in Petaluma. Richmond, Virginia. Man, this is awesome. Norman, Oklahoma, Seth. I believe I've met you, Seth. I think if it's the right one I'm thinking. Mihail from Toronto. All right. It's probably the coldest. I think in terms of temperature right now in the middle of winter. So Jason, Winnipeg. Oh, that's cold. That's really cold. Rad, West Side, Los Angeles. Hey, Rad, I actually posted a photo of you from probably 20 years ago on my blog because it's my 25th anniversary at Autodesk today. So one of those ones where you're wearing festive stuff. It's kind of fun to see go over the future or the past. Cape Town, wow, sunny and warm. That'd be a nice place to be. Andre, Germany. Oh, Milan, we got Milan, Massimo. Holy cow. Mumbai, I think that's the farthest. Welcome. Daniel, Slovakia. Thanks, Rad. All right, let's get this party started, shall we? Welcome to today's community conversation. Community conversations are virtual meetups featuring expert speakers across the Autodesk community and product teams as we have today. There's a lot on the calendar, so please go check out the community conversation calendar. Stuff being added all the time, and all experience levels welcomed. And you could be a speaker too. There's a get involved, and you could lead your own session. So, all right. I'm Sean Hurley. I am your host today. We originally had Kimberly Furman. She had an urgent matter she had to attend to, so you are stuck with me. I have a great panel with us today. It's Pawel and Dan. They're from the product management of structures, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff with structures, and make sure to ask your questions. David is on the line with us here and managing the chat, and he's posted the link. All questions are in the Slido. So simply put in Slido and then instruct AMA 23 and then ask your question, and that's how we're gonna operate today. So make sure to not be shy and ask your questions of the panel. The quick safe harbor statement. If we say anything, we can't make any promises that something will actually happen if we talk about, maybe future features or ideas. This just says that if you're going to make any purchasing decisions, that you make them based on the products as they are shipping today. Before we begin, there is the ability to enable live transcription of audio in 11 languages. So if you just go to the meeting controls and select more, there is turn on live captions, and that will put to 11 different languages what you're hearing in audio today, if that is a helpful thing for you. Again, submit your questions on slido.com. There is the code, and David has thrown it in chat. The session will be recorded, and the recording will be posted to the event page on the community conversations page. So, check back. My goal is to have them all up tomorrow. I have the past 3. So we have Revit, Dynamo, and then infrastructure that we've already done. And those are ready to go live on YouTube. And we'll also be posting all the questions and more follow-up on that. So anyway, for those who miss it, or you want to share it with others, there'll be the opportunity by tomorrow. All right, as I said, I'm Sean Hurley. I'm Autodesk Community Engagement Manager. I am a geeky technologist in Bend, Oregon. Pawel, please.
Hey, good day, everybody. Thank you for joining again. Nice to have you, and looking forward to have a nice conversation, good conversation with you. My name is Pawel Piechnik. I've been with Autodesk for 15 years, structural engineer by education, and I'm looking after structural engineering and fabrication strategies at Autodesk holistically. That includes design part and downstream from design to construction for concrete analysis, precast, steel. And we are working hand in hand with Dan Peticila.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Peticila, and I'm the Revit product manager responsible for cast in place and precast concrete, steel connections, automation, and the graphics modernization that you've probably heard of from Harlan in yesterday's session. I've been with Autodesk for a bit more than 7 years now, and I'm based in Bucharest, Romania.
Awesome. And David, can you post the roadmap link for people interested in looking at the Revit roadmap, just to get a good context of that? And the questions are rolling in. That is awesome. Awesome. Pawel, Dan, do you want to go to your slides, or should we take questions off the bat? What is your preference?
Go ahead with the slides. We just have a few slides to set it up, the conversation, and give you some background for the discussion, just to level set certain areas of focus we'd like to take your questions for. Awesome. Just a couple of minutes here. What you can see on the slides here as certain user areas of user activities and structural professionals activities, whether those are engineers or fabricators, detailers. And those are areas of our investments and interests in the same time. So you can see structural analysis, you can see BIM modeling for documentation and for coordination purposes, which is the core of BIM. We can see code-based detailed design, which is element sizing, rebar redistribution per design codes. And also we can see detailing and fabrication. So this is where we are operating here. And this is probably where the discussions will be happening today. So if you make one more click, Sean, there's 4 areas in today's industry practices. Just one more click. Okay, are very much often disconnected one from another. We see engineers taking design decisions in standalone analysis software, which is in many cases disconnected or not well connected to where BIM model is. Then when design decisions are taken in analysis, typically the handover downstream to detailers, fabricators is happening through DXF files, BDF files. So it's really disconnecting any BIM workflows. So this is the challenge we want to face right now. We are facing and we are responding to. And on the next slide, the response through our investments and how we are strategizing right now is to make engineers central to the project delivery process and helping engineers to take design decisions where actually BIM model is. It's getting many benefits, obviously, less RFIs, whatever we design, whatever design decisions we are taking and making them represented through model data. It could become directly an input downstream for fabrication, for detailing, for construction documentation, and so on. So this is the key benefit of BIM. It's really making workflows model-based, reducing waste, reducing the overheads of coordination. And this is our backbone for the strategy and how we are investing in our products here. And that's the background for the discussion, actually. On the next slide, you may have realized through what we posted on some social medias and the blog post for Revit, we have just released and published a very brand new and refreshed in the same time, but brand new in terms of how it's formatted public roadmap for Revit. It's based on the product board technology. It's very interactive. Somewhere you have slides, you have links for this blog post from where you can see this this public roadmap. So here you can go and review each of those items we have on the roadmap, which is in progress, which means it should be expected sooner rather than later. You can vote for that. You can add your comments or requirements or requests per idea, per item, per future proposal. And you can also submit your own ideas. So it's not only short-term things that we are working on right now, but on the next slide, if you click the Up Next tab, that's the next one should be. Yeah, and you can see what we have in mind in terms of what would come next, what will be focused on next, actually. So with that, we are exposing our planning, and the language here is features. So in value proposition, we want to be adding as we go, as we develop our products, primarily to Revit right now, but also there's some adjacent technologies and workflows and clouds and everything. We'll be talking about that as well. So that's a quick introduction to this discussion, and having you redirected to the most recent sources of information we'll be debating on today. I think with that, we can
go to the questions.
Straight to the questions.
I will let you pick where you want to go. People can vote, by the way, and it looks like they're voting them up. So.
Okay, that's nice. So let's start with the question that was pre-submitted from Andre.
Yeah, I can take that one. With the rebar in linked model, I assume that's what you're referring to, Andre. This is something that's that it is on our radar. We do know of the need of detailers or fabricators to work separately somehow from the engineering design intent model. Hence this requirement, but it's not yet prioritized as we try first to close some more productivity gaps and function and typical tools that are required for detailing. This would, of course, would come probably at some point after we complete these features that are currently listed on the public roadmap. And I think this also addresses Skark's question, which was a bit down here.
Okay,
all right.
Done. So the next take questions top down now. Roman, thanks for asking this question. We discussed that before, and that's a great question. So robot stands for robot structure analysis, for all who are not aware of this product, which is part of the AEC collections. And the future for structural analysis from our perspective is bright because we are heavily investing in structural analysis workflows right now. And we are quite committed to make it one of the most important areas of focus. Again, putting engineers in the center means making them their analysis, their design outcomes to be connected to Revit, to BIM. And Revit is a BIM authoring software. So when I look at the structural analysis and robot structural analysis from a distance, looking at workflows more holistically, I'm seeing Revit and robot structural analysis as a technically federated by a single solution here. Obviously being inclusive to the ecosystem of analysis tools that should be also part of the BIM-centric workflows analysis included. So as today you can see robot and Revit as more distinct yet integrated, interoperable software. Over time, you will see those to be more and more homogeneous in terms of the user experience and user interface in some ways. So when I see structural analysis, the future, I'm seeing a very new parametric way to model for analysis purposes, and Revit is the future of analytical modeling for analysis. And this is, you can see that from the roadmap as well. This is where all the requirements that are coming our way, whether this is from Revit users, robot users, engineers who are yet to embrace BIM. We are, for modeling wise, we are seeing Revit as the key authoring platform because of its obvious benefits. You can have parametric models, you can be fully collaborative with other types of models, whether those are structural models for construction, for fabrication, architectural models. So Revit is a new modeler for structural analysis, clearly. Analytical data will be also available for documentation and for quantification, again, with Revit as a documentation technology. So it will be more inclusive to analytical analysis outcomes to be part of this graphical documentation of Revit. Robot structural analysis engines will be also available for those who want to use it as backbone technologies, developing more vertical services from the cloud. You can draw this analogy to design automation API. And analysis would be also part of that running from the cloud as well. Along with normal workflows, having Revit and robot being interoperable on the desktop itself. So there's a lot to that. As we see analysis and code design, by the way, being more integrated with Revit. Again, it's a BIM-centric world, and we are making it clear that we do invest in BIM-centric workflows in the first place. Code design, also Dan will talk to adjacent workflows. Code design, creating rebar, it needs to happen where physical model is. Because once automatically generated reinforcement through analysis results and design codes needs to become an input data for detailing. So everything needs to be connected. And that is the future for robot structural analysis, along with the other platforms we have, like Revit for modeling, cloud for on-demand servicing with information and data storage. So that'll be a longer answer to this short question. It's a very important question.
It's great context for that, Pawel. Thank you. Dan, do you want to talk about what Pawel was referring to with the co-working or the
with the rebar generation that's analysis driven? Well, that's also something we have on the radar. It's, let's say, one of the most important workflows that ultimately engineers would want to have. And in the direction towards automation, what we did so far was to implement this more simplistic but very easy to use adaptive rebar propagation in Revit 2023. But you can imagine that at some point into the future, those cages, or firstly the patterns that reinforce those elements, could be driven from structural analysis results. However, as you see on our roadmap, these are not yet there because they are, let's say, mid-horizon rather than for the next, for the more nearby future.
Excellent. All right. We want to take the next one. There's a question about the roadmap itself. They said they can only see the Revit one. Is the roadmap for advanced steel kind of still in the works, still to be published, or is it still there?
Yeah, that's another good and heavy question as well. So right now we have published Revit roadmap, which is the backbone for BIM-centric workflows, obviously. I think at some point, maybe in a month, 2 or 3 from now, we'll explain the structural analysis roadmap, Roman, per your earlier question. And also, please expect to hear from us more on the steel roadmap. Also, anytime 1 to 3 months from now, because we are right now debating on and discussing how to address clearly and then long term the spectrum of of the demands we are hearing from our customers on the steel side. And we are hearing lots of requirements and feedback and demands from small and large fabricators. We hear from detailing shops or detailing services providers where detailing is offshore too. We are also hearing a lot on steel from engineering firms who extend from design to detailing and need it to be clearly BIM-centric. So there's many good requirements, demands, and expectations, which in many cases are mutually exclusive. Whether this is more CAD, more BIM, more fabrication-centric, more design-centric. This is what we are trying right now to level set clearly to establish our point of view on really next strategic investments here. So that is translating to what we want to embrace. It's not or, it's and to get requirements that would be satisfying most of the still friendly structural professionals. So I would defer this discussion to happen once we declare and provide some more roadmap items more available for you.
Thank you. Do you have any preference, or do you want to just keep going from the top?
Let's go top down.
All right. Will you open the API for advanced steel to the drawings and drawing process to allow users to improve that part of the software?
Yes, this is, by the way, John, this is exactly what I discussed this morning with here at Autodesk, how to make API for drawings as we move forward with new platforms, potentially with new technology. What would be right to do to make also drawings, not just modeling, automated? Today, we have computational automation applicable to modeling with Dynamo. And we are encouraging communities to automate it more, and that is going also to set some patterns for what we need to get automated for drawings. Exactly as you phrase it, it's not on the roadmap, but this is part of the vision we would have for steel, to make drawings more customizable, more open as a service, as well as something that others could be use and customize and reuse.
Thank you. So it's top of mind. It was nice to hear that you've been discussing it today. Let's go with Daniel. Can you please explain how do you plan including bar bending details in rebar schedules? How will it work? I think it is most important. I think it is the most important function missing in Revit structure right now, at least in Europe.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very, very important feature that we are close to completing. And I can tell you that these bar bending details will work just as you would expect from a true BIM product. So the graphics is all live. It's vectorial representation of each bar that automatically changes whenever something in the model changes, that, or if the bar changes in any way, any length of segment, and everything is updated in real time. Even if you drag the schedule on the sheet, so the size of the cells is changed. Of course, the pictures, the vectorial graphics that adapts instantly. You will have the option to customize what you would like to be displayed along with those bending details, whether you want to see segment lengths or just letters like A, B, C, D. If you want to see angles or bending radiuses, colors of the text, colors of the lines, everything will be fully customizable.
Excellent. All right, from Tony, are there any plans to increase the functionality of the graphical column schedule?
Yeah, it's Tony. It's not on the roadmap right now. We are, however, not hearing this much demands on this very feature right now. We used to, obviously, some years ago. since then, because it's a very country, to be honest, country-specific feature, since then, the ecosystem of add-ons on top of Revit has been making this workflow improved. The more we hear, the more it would be considerate. We are not hearing this much about that yet at this time.
This would be when the roadmap launches, just like with the Revit one, they could add their items in there and vote. And, you know, there are many different ways for them to, you know, if there's people using this functionality, let you know, right? What's your preferred method for getting the feedback from the customers?
Idea Station, that's the one.
Okay. All right, hit the ideas. All right.
Next question from Wojtek. Let me just take a second to understand it better. Is there any way to add the functionality to Revit, allowing a seamless transfer of data back and forth between Revit model and the analytical software without middlemen? This is a big project we are having right now. It's not a short-term project. It's not an easy one, but this is the next strategic enabler for us. We believe the interoperability between Revit and analysis ecosystem, and there's many important analysis software out there in the world, it's very critical. So this is exactly, we have been investing in this new philosophy for analytical model to make it fully interoperable with analysis. And our approach here is to rely on what was announced very recently, the AEC Cloud Information Model. Cloud Information Model should represent in a standardized way data for analysis interoperability. And our vision here is to get analysis ecosystem connected to the cloud data, not only directly to Revit through API, which will be always possible as it is today, and make it more standardized, clearly. And this is where we are heading right now, exactly. Next question. Will you bring back heavy timber and wood plugin to Revit, which was available as an extension back years ago? The answer is no. Since then, we've worked with partners specialized in the wood market, design to fabrication, lumber yards, and they've developed very mature add-ons or products working on top of Revit as a platform. We cannot compete with the software because it's so mature, and this we don't want to compete. They're part of the ecosystem. Partners like HSBCAD, like Structsoft, now being part of the Greta group, like AGA-CAD, they already provide very mature design to fabrication automation for wood and timber structure. So this is, I would redirect your focus on. It's ready right now, it's super mature, it's proven on a number of projects and working factories. Dan, will you take any other question?
Yeah, maybe I can refer to Skalk's question on transferring rebar configurations across products, so like Tekla and Robot to Revit. I think that depends firstly on the workflows and the personas that would be engaged in those workflows. Whether you would like to do, my understanding from your question is that you would like actually to be able to generate the reinforcement cage in Revit, reading analysis results from various these structural analysis tools, right? And in this case, as long as those analysis results are compatible with our API, those results could be read by an engine like Robot, for example, which can perform calculations that could then be used to drive the generation of a rebar cage for a column, that is.
Okay, thank you. So next question from Mustafa. Mustafa, could you, if you are on the chat in Zoom, could you clarify which Revit version you are on when mentioning analytic CAD models generated within Revit? Okay, so if you are on 18 plus releases and not on 23, then you need to see that on 23, the analytical model has been completely reimagined, as you say, or renovated or recreated. There's a completely new concept. And with that concept has enabled certain functionalities that simply did not work well before, like ability to create models automatically that are connected. Just as simple as that. It's the hard-coded rules that made analytical models generated before are now under much more control of engineers, and you can customize all the rules to make sure that your specific project types are coming up automated analytical models wise in Revit, and there's no need for cleaning. If there's cleaning that is needed, that happens obviously. We hope way less than it was before. Then the unconnected parameter for nodes has been also significantly improved because it works as it should work, and you can get this information whether your BIM analytical model is connected or good or not through filters and typical model quality control features of Revit. Snapping analytical frames to grid lines. This was improved last year. What we are having next on the roadmap is to snapping to intersectional grid lines. Yes, this is all very important to us, and there is more around that. I'd like to take more specifically your feedback, Mustafa, because this is exactly what's happening right now, making it easy and better to define an analytical model in Revit. Just to explain our expectations here for you better, we want Revit to be analytical modeler as analysis tools are for easy and quick analytical modeling, but Revit would come with additional obvious benefits, having analytical model to be parametric, groupable, linkable, and schedulable and documentable, so to speak, more. So again, to close the loop, Revit should be the analytical modeler for analysis, and everything you mentioned in the question should be top notch. And many of those is on the roadmap right now, as you can see on this product board roadmap. Dan, do you see any question for yourself?
Yeah, I have one about rebar. Where was it? It got up. Rebar sorting. Where did it run away? But yeah, Yurai's question. Are you planning to add a function to sort rebar number based on some parameter? Let's say you want your rebar numbers of rebars to be sorted by their diameters, length, shape, etc. We know that the rebar numbering, the current one, could be better. This is something we hear from some of our customers. It is on our radar, but not yet on the public roadmap, as you could tell. But it's very valuable to me seeing the kind of criteria you would need to have this better sorting. So really appreciate having this input from your side. Thank you.
Hey, Pawel and Dan, do you run the pre-release betas on feedback.autodesk.com?
Yeah, we are part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be a great way for some of these people that may not be involved in that, if they'd like to get in the private discussions and testing things as we release them or pre-release them, be a great place to do that. Feedback.autodesk.com.
And we are as we are here, we are very open to have more direct conversations with you, like email us directly. This is very important. We are looking for this feedback, for this connection to you, like directly. Most of the questions you're asking, it's in progress. So the more you'd be helping us on taking actually design decisions as we develop several of these features represented by these questions, the better it would be. So we are really eager to get more in touch with you.
Yeah, feel free to, if you have an email alias, to put that into the chat. But
yeah, or go to LinkedIn simply and start the conversation from there, and we can take it, carry this over to emails. Any way would be good. Okay, next question from Rob. SMLX transfer between Revit, Advanced Steel for steel fabrication to take care of the numbers and part numbers and marks, right? It is one of the first thing we would be doing to make Revit and Advanced Steel better connected, clearly. Exchanging marks across design and fabrication is key, and this is the gap I'm seeing very clearly right now.
Maybe I can take this other rebar question from Daniel. So an additional question to the rebar schedule: how will be the rebar length shown in the picture? How will the rebar length shown in the picture be calculated? Based on central line or outside dimensions of bent parts, or will it be read from ABC parameters of family, so we can change the length calculation approach? So the values that are displayed in the bar bending details are the values of the parameters displayed in the properties palette, so those ABCDs. And yeah, similar, I forgot to say one thing. When I also described in greater detail how the bending details in the schedule work, similar customization options and the way the parameters and the lengths of the segments are displayed are applicable to the bar bending details that you can place on the drawing directly next to the formwork. I think that's an important note to make. Pawel, which question raises your attention most?
Maybe let's take one from Ignos. Will Advanced Steel be part of the workflow that it can benefit from the AnaltCAD model? So currently we are focused mostly on AnaltCAD model connection between Revit and analysis software for design purposes, and Revit would be the center of hosting all the data for AnaltCAD and structural physical model. We are not getting any suggestions on making Advanced Steel connected to AnaltCAD model. We don't see Advanced Steel be connected directly to analysis. It's rather Revit would be the hub for an AnaltCAD model, and from Revit structural model will go downstream to fabrication models. That is the workflow. Obviously, nothing is preventing analysis software to be connected to Advanced Steel directly. There are some use cases right now, but that's not our primary workflow. We see Revit as a hub containing BIM AnaltCAD model and BIM structural physical model. Next question from Mike, maybe Shanin. Do you plan to give users more control over what kind of data is transferred between robot and Revit? We didn't have this concept in mind, assuming that we'll transfer everything between analysis and analysis software and Revit, assuming that whatever we do modeling wise and attribution wise in analysis software, Revit should understand. That's the shortest answer. At some point we'll have a certain mechanism for more intelligent and more customizable change management, and I believe in this concept we may expose some capabilities for selection what actually you want to get transferred or maybe not transferred but converted to Revit from all the data that will be stored in the cloud repository. So you'll be able probably to select what you need to take from cloud-based repository to Revit at some point. But short to midterm, everything needs to be transferred so that topology for geometry should be represented in Revit, same way as it is analysis, so the attribution would come along as well. So the loads and load combination would come along as well. The only way to select a subset of data is to select subset of a model that you want to transfer, whether this is a floor or a whole building or just a selection of analytical data model objects wise. So I hope that answers your question.
Maybe I can take Scar's question around locking items, especially rebar. This is something which we have on the roadmap. In the up next section, we call it freeze rebar geometry. So I think it refers to the same use cases that you are describing here. Actually, this is a topic that I would like us to talk in greater detail about, because I would like to know if it is needed to lock just the entire bar geometry, or maybe a particular segment. For example, you have some U-shaped bars that you would like their width to be constant, but the length of the legs to vary, let's say, according to the host, that may be varying in length. How would you like the bars to behave when you unfreeze them or unlock them? And of course, how should this management of the revisions actually work? Because I assume it also impacts the numbering, not just the constraints of the bars. Really, there are many questions. We have this, as I've said, on the roadmap. Probably when, or most likely when we will have a working prototype, we will also start a conversation in the Revit preview forum. But at least the two of us, Carl, we can take this conversation via email in the first instance, because we have our contacts, and discuss about it. For the rest of you that are interested in this topic, I'm asking you to please leave your comments or recommendations to us on the associated card right here on this public roadmap portal, because in case you haven't noticed, this is a feature that allows you to simply add your comments or whatever you want there, and that's super valuable to us to read.
Thanks, Dan. And yeah, it's in the upper right hand. I can see it right now. Freeze rebar geometry. All right. Where do you gentlemen want to go next?
I take the next question. Ignos, your top one at this moment. Any more development to have advanced steel functioning properly with cloud-based solutions? It's not on the roadmap right now. And again, I would redirect you to some more information on the structural steel. We would be likely exposing in some weeks. Maybe I can take the next one from Ignos. Revit, any plans for steel connections supporting tapered columns and beams? And that the first thing we need to do is to make Revit representing properly tapered framing elements, as you said. That would be the first thing to be done. It is likely to see this at some point on the roadmap, I can tell. Currently, what is important for when we model for steel in Revit is so that these models could be fully interoperable with advanced steel and steel fabrication. So currently, this is the case for hot rolled profiles. We really need to get this done for like tapered and also free plates profiles as well to be, and then we'll see what works, what would not work with connections. And I assume once we have these tapered columns, the scope of applicability for connections would be exactly as exactly as it is for advanced steel today.
I can take this first question up top from Daniel. Could we get an option to change rebar number? Let's say we want to switch which rebar has some specific number. This is related to the previous question around better sorting of bars. So when we would get to this project that would maybe be called something like improved rebar numbering, we should definitely also address this. I see this as a possibility to manually override numbers that maybe have been assigned automatically to bars based on particular logic. Of course, we would need a good level of control over these manual overrides so that no critical errors in the logistics would happen by, let's say, assigning the same bar number to a U-shaped bar of 10 meters, as we would also assign to a straight bar of 5 meters. Those should still have different numbers, I assume.
Okay, question from Shashank. I always start with interaction between analysis tools like ETABS and Revit to import an analytical model. So two answers to this question. First of all, it is for us, we influence analysis systems providers to provide best possible links to Revit. And this is really on all of us providing analysis software to develop and keep it up to date every time we add more features to an analytical model to Revit every year. So that's one thing. I would really, if you could talk to CSI directly, that would be best. Second, with the new automation capability for Revit for an analytical model, you can use it, and this is a feature as it looks. It's a command in Revit, automate an analytical model, but it's been developed in a way so you can open it up, the rules that drives the automation, because it's dynamo. So we can open up the scripts and use it for the purpose also to develop that further for the purpose of interoperability if you want to use dynamo for that. So both directions, but most importantly, we are expecting analysis software providers to be interoperable with Revit for the benefit of engineers using both. Any plans to be able to add Revit connections to groups and assemblies? I make this question broader than that. We need in Revit to make assemblies working for the purpose of fabrication and get any elements like steel connections, parts, plates, what is possible today to be part of assembling. And it has been discussed in our team quite extensively. It's not on the roadmap you can see right now, but this is something I'd like to have working. Michael, robot supporting composite design per Canadian code. So in robot, we have this composite design add-on that is working for American code. But what we really rely on and what I'm recommending for our users is to look at the technology partnership we have with NRCalc. And I'm relying on NRCalc to provide composite design capabilities to Revit, reading loads from Revit model as how it's working today. So I'd recommend you to go and look at this solution, because this is a sustainable approach we would like to have to make composite design working on top of Revit.
And I could take the next question from Michael as well. Do you plan to show markups not only on 3D models, but on 2D sheets, probably connection to Bluebeam? Well, I cannot speak on the connection to Bluebeam because yeah, that's not something we are very much in touch with, but I have been discussing with our colleagues from the Autodesk Construction Cloud team, and this is something that it is on their radar. So yeah, they have received similar feedback from customers. I cannot tell you how their public roadmap would look like, but I can tell you that they are aware of this. And also for us, for the structural users, this would definitely be a great contribution, because I personally faced this need when I was trying to represent particular workflows. So this is very important for us.
There is one question in chat. We want to make sure everybody goes to Slido so we can have the archive. But Massimo asked, how can this roadmap even involve robot users? I think he's asking if robot users can use this roadmap feature for suggestions.
That's a good question, Massimo. So when you see robot now, it's a software for analysis and design. When you see Revit, you can see Revit as a much better analytical modeler for analysis. So we definitely see robot users using Revit for analytical modeling. It will excel, and the feedback we have from robot users on the modeling side, we are incorporating that right now in Revit. Second, when working in BIM environment, we need to have parity between Revit and robot in terms of how loads are represented, boundary conditions, also load combinations. In many cases, many of our customers work in a more complex setup when there's more than one analysis tool used. This analysis software for this types of analysis, another one for another, and the hub for them is BIM model. Moreover, there is many code design algorithms and products working as a different software, like I mentioned, Enercalc here, or Idea Statica for connection design. They are working on where the BIM model is. So again, a structural engineer would need to have a BIM modeler, would need to have analysis software, would need to have design software, and all those analysis and design may come from different even software providers, right? So the same thing you can see robot. Some capabilities of robot we are redirecting to Revit, because Revit is simply a better modeling environment and better documentation environment. Okay.
We've got time for just a few more questions.
Okay. So let's be quick with the question. Ignos, any plans to improve IFC support in advanced steel on import? We don't have that right now on the roadmap. I'm redirecting you to some more communication on steel in some weeks from now.
There is another rebar question from Daniel. Could we get a function to mark rebar, let's say in specified color, that is not tagged on sheet? It would be perfect solution to check missing rebar tags. Could apply to other family types as well. Yes, this is a very good quality assurance tool, and some of our rebar partners have this functionality, because this particular workflow is pretty much region specific. So I encourage you to have a look at our industry partners listed on the Autodesk portal and check out their add-ons, because some of them include this functionality. And I can paste in the chat in the Zoom the link to our AEC partners page.
Okay, another question from Ignos for advanced steel again. So I redirect you to more communication you'll hear from us later. This very specific feature is not right now on the roadmap. Next question from Sue. Often architects will have a single wall going from ground level to the top of the penthouse. Will you function where structure is able to take the wall and split them based on level? So currently, the structural wall as it is, you need to split it. You cannot split it like it is. There's some ways to get this splitted in two ways. If there is a command for automated wall splitting for fabrication purposes, It's part of this precast command. Second, when used for analysis, you can also have structural wall spanning, going through stories and make represented floor by floor by an ALCAL model. As an ALCAL model, if that was also where you referred to with your question, an ALCAL model one wall could be represented by multiple ALCAL panels. Daniel, Robot, any plans on adding local annexes of design codes for additional countries? Well, that's a very, very good question and very touching on a very difficult area, code design. Code design is super important part of the workflow, obviously. The difficulty is that every single country has different expectations, different design codes, which change, get updated every now and then, every other year. And us, it's really difficult for us to get all the codes being part of the software and also making them updated. So our approach here is, yes, we do updating every single year, many codes, including annexes. Secondly, we align the roadmap with the partners ecosystem who, in case of we don't provide a code because we cannot just provide all the codes that are necessary even for the core markets, we are working with partners so they could provide codes for us. Like I mentioned a couple of partners today providing design codes for specific markets. Third approach we are doing, we are opening design codes, and this next very shortly we'll see us opening design codes for communities, partners, users to customize for any national annex or any code. We are doing this for required reinforcement right now for Robot. That's the third way to address this complexity of having multiple design codes for all the countries. And there's a fourth way of making design codes connected to analysis, also part of Robot structural analysis software. There is an easy way to get all the data, geometrical data for analysis, structural analysis, the results like forces, reactions, and so on, connected to Revit, to Excel, for very easy formula-based code checking algorithms creation in Excel. We have an add-on for Robot called Results Connect that is making it really easy to take data and make it always on, always up-to-date data from Robot for formula-based code checking algorithms. So that's a more complex answer to your question. If you have any specific code in mind, please let me know by email.
Pawel, let's see if we can, we've closed the questions. We got the last two there. Let's see if we can get those ones answered in a brief mode, and then we will roll the session.
Structural roadmap for structural analysis. This is partially part of Revit roadmap, obviously, but there's more to that. I think I'll be working on a more holistic explanation of how we are seeing structural analysis now, short, mid-term, and long-term in the future, as we discussed today. And the last question, are you planning to add option for curved sections, elevations? Will be great for curved walls and rebar detailing. It's not on the roadmap right now. As we can see, we know this, and this is important. Please go ahead and put it on Idea Station to gather support for this idea, Juraj. Thank you for proposing, by the way. It's a wrap then. I think we are all done with the questions. Good timing.
Thank you, Pawel and Dan. And thank you everybody for joining us today. We do have the MEP session in about an hour. So if you're interested in that or know somebody who might be at your firm or in your local area, let them know to join us then. A few community resources for people. We do have the forums, of course. We have the idea board. We have the Community Voices, which is the community blog. So anybody here with expert knowledge could be an author in the blog. And don't forget to check out the rest of the community conversations. We have the Revit series, we have the Dynamo series, we have Fusion, we have a whole bunch of different ones and more being added all the time. So again, thank you everybody. And I appreciate all the great questions and all the great answers, Pawel, Dan, and thanks David in the background there.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
For joining.
Cheers.
Talk to you next time.